The year was 2012. I was staring up at the night snowy sky after I have fell from the third floor. Yes, it was an attempted you know what. While I was lying in the huge bundle of snow, I was thinking, did I mess up? When I stood up, walked, and I got back to my dormitory, nervous, and was in utter shock, hoping that nobody saw that embarrassing attempt. I put up on my earphones and tried to listen to music. That time it was one of those moments of escape. As cheesy and dramatic as it sounds, it did happen, and I was 14 during that time, and I didn't know any better until I had a catharsis with the music I was listening to. Music was and is still a huge part of my life. And I guess we can say that this video is not only my musical journey on how Radiohead progressively became one of my favorite bands of all time, but also how their music helped me on how I cope up with my early depression and my thoughts. This was something I wanted to do for a long time. I never really talked about this experience ever since, simply because it was a weird thing to share, and I never really knew how to express it, even until now really. But I think it's about time that I try. This is the story on how Radiohead saved me. During the early 2000s, I was a growing metalhead and have been sold to the early 2000s scene and still stuck with the new metal movement. I was literally that black sheep in class, or the special kid that needed attention, as cliche as it sounds. Normally it would be these bands that fits the "this band saved my life" category, but in my case it was going to be different, obviously. I stumbled upon Radiohead's song called Lotus Flower. It was that black and white music video where Thom was having a really good time. That time, me and my siblings were just laughing at it, being simple-minded kids, but deep inside I was just so intrigued. With all that edgy and fleshed out extreme genre that I have been watching and listening to, I have never seen and listened to something that was so odd and bizarre. A lot of people started with Radiohead's biggest hit, known as Creep, but in my case, out of all the songs, it had to be Lotus Flower. It was from an album that was controversial to some fans, but I enjoyed the song. It had an unusual approach, plus Thom's haunting yet soothing voice was a good combination. It was enough for me to become invested in it. And that was pretty much it around that time. It was one of those songs that just existed in my playlist. I was not an instant fan yet. Besides, I was an edgy new metalhead, or whatever you may call it. At a young age, during my high school, I was able to get a scholarship and studied had an opportunity to study at Turkey. Going to another country and being able to experience many things was such an amazing thing, and to the rest of the people around me. I thought I was there. I thought I was finally going to be one of those fortunate ones, as what others would describe. Little did my 14-year-old self knew what was going to happen in a few months. I met many good friends during my time there in Turkey. I became a good friend with one of them because of music. And this one friend of mine was responsible for sharing Radiohead's Creep. It was all normal when the song started, the catchy drum beat, the melancholic guitars, the simple vocals. Then, when the chorus hit, I was immediately sold as a first-timer. I was genuinely enjoying and getting along with the track until that part, which completely blew me away. And we all know which part that is. I can say for certain that my curiosity grew and was excited to hear more of Radiohead. Now, way back I didn't know what pirating music was, and I thought downloading them was normal. So I apologize for doing such an ignorant act way back. But hey, at least I listen to them now on Spotify Premium. So going back, my only chance to get any songs during that time was to wait for the week to end, go to an internet cafe, plug in my shitty phone, and begin to download. So it became like an exciting thing for me every weekend, knowing that I will listen and experience another trip with Radiohead. And that's how I progressively got into Radiohead. At first, I expected more songs like Creep and more distorted guitars and angst, but what I got was more than that. And I never knew that it would be something that I ended up loving, and it grew further and further like a seed. The amount of experiment and sound that their discography offered latched onto me like a leech, and I got way too addicted to keep listening to them. Tracks like Paranoid Android, There, Bulletproof, I Wish I Was, Nice Dream, All I Need. I could name all the songs and the time to discuss every magical moment I had with each track. One of the best examples was Let Down. The sense of intimacy that results utterly defies the lonely, tightly wound discontent of the album's character, to the point that it becomes reassuring to find oneself in the thick of it. No band does alone together quite like Radiohead. A very beautiful way to describe by Fred from Audioxide. Well, that was pretty much an oversimplification on how I became a fan. Everything is in its right place, or so it seems. So what happened? At the beginning of the video, I did mention that it happened.
Suddenly I did what I had to do, and what I had wanted to do. And that was to do myself in, to snuff it, to blast off forever out of this wicked, cruel world. One moment of pain, perhaps, and then sleep, forever and ever and ever.
To sum everything up without pointing fingers at anyone but myself, I was gonna lose my scholarship. Even if it wasn't the end of the school year, I knew that it was going to be hopeless. Even though I could easily blame the school and say they should have been better, deep inside I knew that it was me who could have been way better. But I couldn't do it. I never had the resolve and strength to persevere. Even if I had amazing times at Turkey and the school I was in, the darker days were more gut-wrenching, and I still remember everything. the edgy teenager I was. I struggled to figure out who I was, what I was capable of. I thought I was gonna lose everything I worked hard for. The moment I got back home with a failed status, I was not ready to face the consequences. Everything I tried to work hard for, the trauma from elementary and or grade school that I thought was going to be extinguished. So, how did Radiohead save me? I guess you can say Radiohead saved me in a lot of ways, even though it wasn't enough to prevent what I just did. It was one of the darkest hours of my life, at least during that time as an edgy teenager, finding himself. I remember clearly the song that I was listening to during that aftermath. It was How to Disappear Completely. That title alone completely encapsulates what I was feeling at that moment. It was one of the saddest and the most cathartic tracks I've ever heard that really gave an emotional impact to what I was going through. And it all went, I suppose, uphill at that point. Every single song that I've heard from them that I used to enjoy, I now found that like some sort of hidden meaning, or I found a different meaning in one of their songs. And by that time, they were like the solution to my problems way back, even though it doesn't make sense. But mentally, I was, during that time, it was still valid to say it helped me man up, if that makes sense. And I suppose that's it. My journey of discovering Radiohead and their music has had a profound impact on my life, helping me cope with depression and dark thoughts when I was a teenager. Their music has helped me through some of my darkest moments, and I encourage others to find peace and solace in music too. It's amazing how something as simple as a song can make such a profound impact on someone's life. I have found that taking the time to reflect on my experience has been instrumental in my personal growth and understanding. By being mindful and intentional in my reflections, I have gained valuable insights, learned from my mistakes, and appreciated my accomplishments. I believe that reflection is a powerful tool for personal development, and I encourage others to give it a try and see the transformative effects for themselves. So yeah, the video is already long enough, but I would like to say thank you, Radiohead. And sorry I downloaded your music before.